Hi everyone, Teddy Namiolo is my name and I'm your host with
Juko Letitia.
Remember, you're watching Elevate. Elevate is a show where we address issues, matters of concern to the youth. We look at problems and how to solve these problems.
At this point in time, we have been focusing on entrepreneurship and business. In our last episode last week, we covered how to generate startup capital for your business. In this week, we are going to be telling you exactly how to identify the perfect business that is going to suit you as a person and suit the community as a whole.
Just remind you all, in our last episode, we looked at ways like having to save your own money if you want to generate startup capital. We also looked at you having to go for loans from parents or friends. So, in this episode, we are going to show you, having generated that income, having generated that startup capital, how do you as a youth out there identify that business idea that is going to suit you, that idea that you're going to be comfortable with, that idea that you're sure will give you profits, and that idea that will use to develop as a youth and elevate your life. So we shall take a quick break and we will be right back. Welcome back from that break. You're still watching Elevate. Just remind you all, Elevate is a show where we, the youths, are going to be looking out for the problems that you are facing. We identify the problems and we give you different solutions to those problems. And in this very episode of Elevate, we are going to give you tips. We are going to help you identify a business idea. Are you a youth out there and you want to start up a business? Are you confused or frustrated of how best you can do that? Just sit back and relax, because after this episode of Elevate, you're going to be able to identify that idea that you want to begin with. If you want to identify a business idea as a youth out there, you're going to have to look at passion, right, Letitia?
Obviously.
You cannot do anything if at all you do not have passion. Trust me, if you do not love what you're doing, if you do not have the courage and the determination to do that, which all comes from passion. Speaking of passion, and that is love for what you're going to do. That is the determination and the love and everything. So if you talk about passion today, we shall look at people like Bill Gates. These very successful people are driven by passion to do what they're doing.
Before you leave the borders of Uganda, we have the very Ugandans who have been passionate about their enterprises and have been very successful. The perfect example I would consider is Gloria Wavamuno. First of all, she's in an industry in Uganda, which is fashion, that sometimes if there are some parents, if you told your parents, I want to do fashion, first think about that, I want to do fashion. There are those parents, of course, who are going to welcome that idea and let you, but then there are those who are going to be like, no, you must be a doctor, you must be a lawyer. But here she is, she's struck out in that industry, and her products even reached New York Fashion Week, and that's a very big deal.
Oh, Letitia, that triggers my memory, bringing me close to home. I think of someone like Winnie Chirabo. Do you know Winnie Chirabo?
Yeah, I've heard of that name.
So now Winnie Chirabo is a passionate fashion designer. She studied here in Uganda. She is a Ugandan. That is Winnie Chirabo.
Does she collaborate with Wavamuno?
No, she doesn't. But she studied here in Uganda. She studied at Chambogo University. She actually studied microfinance. You can imagine. But she's now in Barcelona and she's doing fashion and she's doing great. In one of her interviews, Winnie Chirabo mentioned that what you people all call determination, what people call zeal, what people call the courage, what people call passion, she calls it love. She calls it love for what she's doing.
She put it all in one.
Thank you very much. Winnie Chirabo put this all in one, wrapped it all, and said, this is love. She said, with love, you can do great. With love, you can cross borders, like she did. So if you're out there and you want to start a business, look at what you love, look at what you desire, and that will push you to get to your goal.
Speaking of love, you must always keep in mind the love for our community. If you love your community, you thinking of ideas that are going to better it is going to be much easier. So that's a way for you to identify a business idea. Think of the issues in your community and come up with a solution that might be beneficial to all people. Maybe it might not be a solution, but you think that some things in there may not particularly be problems. For example, I'm going to take an example of Glenn Stan.
Glenn Stan? Who is Glenn Stan?
He's a billionaire. He owns a money lending company. So this guy, he was hosted on some show. I don't know if you know Undercover Billionaire.
Oh yes, I do.
I've been watching some business shows. So yeah, he was hosted on that show and put in Pennsylvania with only $100 to start a business.
Only $100. $100?
Only $100. That's
Okay.
$300,000. You might say $300,000 is a lot of money to start a business, but $300,000, he had to live within the $300,000. He had to find a home, he had to feed himself, he had to cater for transportation, everything for 90 days with those $100. So this
Drive the
guy,
point home, Letitia. And what happened?
I'm very sorry. So this guy, when he landed in this place, he realized that they don't really have a restaurant that is going to serve, that is going to meet the needs of people who like alcohol and people who enjoy barbecue. You know barbecue?
Yes, I do know barbecue.
Oh, wonderful. So he decided to set up a restaurant that is going to combine those needs for the people, both barbecue and beer. And he identified
So what did
that
this gentleman look at exactly to start this?
to wrap it all up, he identified the need for a restaurant that was going to combine the people's love for beer and the people's love for barbecue, which gained him over $750 within 90 days.
Okay, that's quite exciting. So Letitia, we should not only look at identifying needs and passion, let us also look at problem solving. We all know that for any problem, there needs to be a solution, right?
Exactly.
So if at all someone looked at the problems we have as people in society and looked into a solution, trust me, everyone would run to that, right?
Exactly.
So now we're going to have to mention people like Ricky Rapper, the one who began Safe Border.
Yeah.
This gentleman, having had a traumatizing moment where he lost a friend due to a border accident, he found it important and key that he should begin something where people are going to board those borders, but they are safe.
About safely.
Exactly, and travel about safely. Something that is very convenient, because you know how taxis could be inconvenient sometimes, congestion and things of the sort. So that's why this gentleman decided to begin Safe Border, which is actually very convenient and safe. You could just use your mobile phone and then you call for Safe Border. It picks you from wherever you are and takes you where you want to be. How is that, Letitia?
That is wonderful.
Okay.
Yes. So another point that we are going to cover, we are going to talk about identifying your strengths. I don't expect anyone to start a business where they have nothing that they can do there. You're going to need...
What do you mean by identifying my strengths? Is it the same as talking about my skills?
Yes, exactly. Now how someone can be there and they're like, oh, I know Teddy likes to speak. You're going to look for something. Leave me alone. You're going to look for something within Teddy's ability to speak.
Okay.
Now when we talk about speaking, there are people like Edwin Karugiri. Yes. This is a person who started up K&K Advocates. It's a law firm, and it is very successful here in Uganda. Yes. So obviously, we have to keep in mind that this person did not just wake up one morning and say, let me open a law firm. They considered their abilities and their strengths to be able to speak out to people and handle these cases adequately.
So are you telling me or someone out there that if at all I identify that I do not have strength here, I should not go for that kind of business idea?
If you're to do that, I would strongly advise you to have somebody behind you who is very skilled in that particular area. If you're going to embark into a business where you know nothing, you're going to need trusted people around you who are going to be able to guide you and maybe sometimes lead you throughout the process.
Okay, which actually brings us to what we have to talk about next, doing research.
Yeah.
Yes, doing research comes with so many things. You could go online, and if you're interested in a certain kind of business, you can go online, use any of the search engines and look around and about that kind of business. Or you could do something that is more physical. Go for a conference.
Yeah.
Go for an expo. We have Harvest Money Expo.
There are actually even these business. They are like enterprises which support businesses that are starting out. You can actually go to these small business development centers and ask them for advice. They can actually help you out.
One thing I want to tell the youths out there, if I told you go for this expo, for example, Harvest Money Expo, try to rub shoulders with those people that are doing some business, because they're going to acquaint you with some kind of knowledge that you do not have.
These are relations that
exactly. They're going to give you some kind of tips that you may not have. Do not just go there maybe to dish out your business cards or something of the sort, but try to rub shoulders with them. Try to talk to them and see what they have to say. By the way, Letitia, you realize with the many problems that are here today, that is a gap for many other opportunities.
Yes, that's very true.
Now let us just look at that enormous heat wave we just had. People people took advantage of that, and those that were making juice actually made profit out of that because it was very hot. And now looking at what is here now, it's raining lately too much, and those that are selling umbrellas are actually taking advantage of that, and they are making sales.
By the way, Teddy, speaking of taking advantage of problems,
yes,
let's not forget the COVID pandemic, COVID-19.
Yes, COVID-19.
COVID-19 was a very destructive force within the whole world. But then there are those people who decided to earn from it. Take a look at people who started selling face masks. Take a look at people who started selling sanitizers. Take a look at guys who started their online businesses using social media platforms.
Yes.
So when you see a problem, don't just focus on it being a problem. Have a hand in solving that problem and make some money out of that.
Yes, so you take advantage of that situation.
Yes.
And look at the greater bit of it.
Yes.
What can you do about that?
Another thing that can help you to identify a business, take a look at what is in your environment, and from those very same things, spring an idea from that and set up your business. And even when you spring up this idea, don't get invested in getting external.
So Letitia, what is in your environment that you could spring up an idea from?
What is in my environment?
Yes.
Well, you already gave us the example of weather, right?
Yes.
When it's cold, I can perhaps invest in warm clothing. When it's hot, I can maybe start selling my juice. There are so many.
Now that it's raining, are you planning to start selling umbrellas?
Yes. Guys, DM me, I have umbrellas now. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that even when you start your business, using the local resources, look for the labor within your community that is going to be easy for you to integrate into your business. Now let's look at a coffee shop. We have Endiro coffee shop here in Uganda. These guys have the capability to import coffee from wherever they want to get it from. They can get the Nescafes, they can get whatever they want. But these guys actually buy coffee from here locally in Uganda. So when you're in your business and you're trying to grow it, having local support can actually help you very much.
Speaking of produce, it brings me to a point where you can get a product and make that product better. You, for example, you realize there are people who would say, "Zasija kulya fene, fene wa mchalo." Yes. But trust me, if someone finds that fene in the supermarket, in the fruit pack, they are going to enjoy it.
That's very true.
So we can take advantages. You can take advantage of such situations. Now, someone out there who says, "The city of fene, I can find a Letitia here enjoying fene," but she's not from the village. But that's because they made the fene look better. Even mukene is exported these days because
where?
To different countries.
For what?
for eating. I don't know for what. What do you eat? What do you use mukene for?
I don't eat.
You must be a planned kid. But mukene is very nutritious. It's going to different countries. Mukene is a very nutritious product. People out there, please eat mukene.
Yes. Now, Teddy, I think the last point which we can talk about is for you to identify a viable business, you should also consider your competition. Get some ideas from your competition. Maybe you can even start, by the way, it's not a must really to compete with the competition. You can start up, something, you and your competitor, which is going to be beneficial for both of you.
I don't get that.
Okay, there's a guy that I know. He wanted to start up a brewery, right?
Brewery.
But then in the society where he was, there was already another brewery.
Okay.
So he decided, why don't I just make a partnership with this other brewery? And instead of competing, he's going to make for me a signature beer. And I'm going to invest more in selling other food products.
So he worked with his competitor.
And together, they built a fortune.
What about those that cannot work with their competitors? How do they look at competition and work within competition?
Now those ones, for if you are there, you don't want to collaborate, the only thing that you can do is to do your best, analyze the competition and improve your products to make things better. By the way, it's very important for you to actually consider the competition in this particular business venture that you want to take on. So maybe if you want to embark on selling shoes, you have to look at your competitor. Where is my competitor placed? If it's the other side, me, I'm going to put mine here where the customers are passing. If his shoes have a weird sole, me, I'm going to upgrade my sole and attract more buyers. Do you understand what I'm saying? If he's pricing them too advancedly and he's only targeting the upper class market, I'm going to reduce the price and get both middle and lower class, and that way I'm building my business.
Speaking of that, Letitia,
yes.
For a woman who is doing a boutique, having clothes alone, you could add shoes.
Yeah.
You can add jewelry. You can set up a salon just next there.
There's a lot you can do.
And you're going to just capture that customer that will come to the salon. They'll buy clothes, they'll buy jewelry. You'll be able to beat that competitor of yours who basically has only women's clothes.
Yeah.
And you'll be at the top making more profits. You're watching Elevate, and we are generating business ideas. We shall take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back from that short break. You are still watching Elevate. For those that have just joined the show, we are looking at how you generate a business idea. We've looked at things like passion,
identifying the issues in your society. We have looked at getting ideas from your competition. We have looked at generating connections within your society
through going for conferences or expos.
Yeah. We have also looked at researching on the growing industries.
So we have an expert here with us who is going to enlighten us on how we can generate business ideas.
When we talk about identifying a business and starting out in business, you need to start by understanding yourself and the things that you like. What are your passions? If you love pets, for example, you can look in the area that you're interested in. Let's say it's pets. If it is if you love dogs, what is it about handling dogs that people don't like doing? Is it washing the dogs? Is it finding food for them? So you can find a niche in there. And as I mentioned last week, start in the network that you have in your family, extended family and close friendships, and see if they will need you to wash their dog maybe once every 2 weeks. If you love fashion, what are your friends struggling with? Is it styling? You don't have to be the one selling the clothes, but you can help them to put nice pieces together. The other thing you can think about, which might not be passions, is the skills that you have. If you look back, were you ever called upon to be the person who always does the speech during speech days? Right, there might be a skill. You might be a good MC and you can start something out to do small gigs for your friends, and you can do that as a business, because when you register or you let it be known that we are MCs, the gigs can then start flowing in. And you specialize that we do maybe corporate events, so we are hype people for parties, and be that kind of people. The other thing you can look at is in your immediate circles again, the little problems that they might be trying to solve. In your hostel, how easy is it to get a snack at midnight? Could you have a stash somewhere that people can get into? And also, while this might be an easy one to think of, that you have the things, so then you let it be known that I have a snack box. If you want to come and pick, can you pick up by this time? And let that get you transport money or something. Another thing to think about is while you're getting into these small gigs here and there, you need to think about the sustainability of this business. For example, you're doing the pet washing business. Are you available anytime they need you, or do you have hours that you can structure your business around? Weekends, you're able to do that, and then you fall into a routine with the clients that you have. If they're emceeing gigs, are you able to maybe work with other people and multiply yourself? On days when you're not available, you have an exam, is there another person that you can let stand in your place? That's how you begin to build a pool of that work under one umbrella, and you run a business where you're always available to the people that need you. The other thing you can think about is the kind of personality that you are. Some people they like to work with people, and therefore you can get into things like managing social media accounts. If you're up to date with trends, then you can be able to work as a personal assistant. This is like a job, but you actually can turn it into a business where you're running multiple accounts for different people or companies that need it. So I believe if you look at the interests that you have, the kind of person that you are, the problems within your community that fit into your areas of passion, and then also how long you want to do this business, you can be able to narrow down on something that you can do.
Well, that was Edna Muriru giving us the perfect ways to identify the perfect business to suit your needs and the needs of the society. In today's episode, we have covered from between me and Teddy our own opinions of how to do that. We gave you examples like competition. We told you about things like problems in the society. We told you about research and
passion.
Yeah, we told you about the passion. Yes.
Going for expose.
Yes, we told you about all that. So now in next week's episode, we are going to be covering where to put your business. Location is a very vital part of where you're going to put your business. You can't put your business in a desert.
No,
you're not going to get this. So we are going to tell you the fertile grounds for you where to put your business.
Today, we've spoken of how you can generate a business idea. Yes. And I am sure many of you out there who are confused or frustrated about how best you can come up with an idea, at least you have 1 or 2 ways. And with your small startup capital, you can begin a business. I've been your host, Teddy Namialo with
Juko Letitia. Thank you for watching. Bye.